Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to try and rank from worst to best the different Cities of Sigmar sub-allegiances. We've gotten a ton of Cities of Sigmar sub-allegiances recently in the Broken Realms book. We've obviously got Har Kuron, which sort of semi-replaced Anvilgard, hasn't quite yet, and Misthavn from the Realm of Shadow in Broken Realms Marathi, and now we've got a new one, again, Settler's Gain in Broken Realms Techless, which is a Haitian life city. So with all of that, I thought we'd gather the cities we have so far. We've got 10 cities in total now, and try and rank them from number 10 to number 1. This, of course, is going to be, I guess, a lot of my own personal opinions, but I'd really like to get some conversation talking on what do we think the actual best and worst cities are. I'll probably also start this conversation out with saying I don't think there is a single terrible city. I think all of them have play, maybe except one of them. I think there is only one city that I struggle to really find a list I want to play with the models that should be included in that list. So looking at the things I think that make a good city, first of all, it should have just good rules. That needs to be a thing. It should want you to take units with good rules, and it should also build towards its theme. It should want you to take those things that are important to the city within the army. That, I think, is a very important thing. So, let's get looking at what is the worst to best City of Sigmar. Coming in at number 10, and what I reckon is currently the worst City of Sigmar, and it's the only one I really struggled to build an army properly with, and that is Phoenicium. So, Phoenicium at its core has a unit that's really good in its war scroll that it wants you to be playing with, and that is the Phoenix Guard and Phoenix Temple units, alongside it the Anointed and the different sort of Phoenixes we can take. Now, the issue with that, though, is the army wants units to die. So it wants you to take these chaff units and die to make your Phoenix Guard better, but it all sort of seems really convoluted and quite hard to pull off. I mean, you're not wanting to buy troops just to kill to get a bonus. It really hurts the army in general. And they've been talking, using like Aether Wings and Flagellants to do this sort of thing. And there's particular charging arcs and ways you can do charges to make it work properly. But for me, it all just feels a bit too much. It really doesn't, I guess, feel fun to play. It's not a very exciting army. There's nothing really to it. And it's not really an easy buff. It's not really making that army do anything fun in a good sort of way. For me, I don't think anything about this is particularly good. I think this is probably the only city I would say is not good in the entirety of all 10 of them. So, number 9 for me is Har Kuron, and while I don't think Har Kuron's potentially bad, I think it has a few things that really rate it lower than the rest of the cities for me, just because it's losing out on so much. Har Kuron really isn't a City of Sigmar, it is a City of Marathi. We've lost all the good rules that come with being a Cities of Sigmar, like no empowered endless spells, no general's adjutant, no honoured retinue, none of that. We get it replaced by a couple of cool abilities. I mean, we get the Anvilgard allegiance, sub-allegiance ability, where we get the nice big bubble of immune to battle shock ability that you can do from that, and we also get access to the prayer. The only downside for me is that the prayer can only go on Daughters of Cain Priest, so you're having to use that 1 in 4 to bring in a Daughters of Cain Priest to then be able to use the prayer that makes your army special. What's worse is that that prayer can only be cast once, and there's only one potential way to get it cast twice. I feel there's just a few things with Har Kuron that really make it not quite as good as even its former city, Anvilgard. I really do think that Anvilgard is a better option of Har Kuron, and while it's really cool, I get for Dark Elf players of old, this is a fantastic thing to be able to bring in all your Dark Elves and play them together. You are losing a lot for being able to do that, and that for me I think is the biggest downside of Har Kuron. Number 8, I have Greywater Fastness. Now, Greywater Fastness certainly has some good play in it. It's a decent shooting army and can buff up some certain particular units. But this, I also think, is where it lacks. A lot of its abilities are very specific to very particular models and doesn't allow you to fully explore Cities of Sigmar within it. I do think it's limited in how you can play it, but there are ways you can play it that can make it really good. Especially in the current meta where shooting is definitely a little bit more dominant, Greywater definitely has some play. It just doesn't have a bit of a few of the tools that other cities can do, especially the more better shooting cities in Cities of Sigmar. For me, Greywater Fastness just falls a little bit short. I don't think it's particularly bad, but I also don't think it's particularly great in any way. There's very particular ways you have to use the models in there, and there's certain units you're having to use to really get the most out of them in certain combinations. But definitely, if you're a Dwarven player, I would recommend going and having a look at Greywater, because there's definitely some things in there for you. Number 7, I have Misthavn. Now, I'm a particular fan of Misthavn. I've played it a lot and I really do enjoy it. I don't think it's awful. I do think there's limitations to it, much for the same reason I put Greywater Fastness so low. Misthavn has an issue with having to use certain units over others. It really wants you to take those Free Guild and Dispossessed and have them on the table, and then you're having to bring on the Dark Elf units. I feel this is the limit to it. While I think this is a sort of more Dark Elf focused version of Living City, it does have its limitations. The Living City doesn't stop you taking other units, while Misthavn does. It gives you specific things you can do with specific units. I think the lack of a spell lore is definitely something Misthavn struggles with, though don't forget we are taking Sorceress. I always go on about that, about how Sorceress has got her own fantastic War Scroll spell she's going to use anyway, but the fact we've got some casting benefits and all that for a Sorceress, it really does sort of suck a little bit that we don't get any spell lore for Misthavn. I really feel we're missing that. Narcotics, on the other hand, is a fantastic, cool little rule, and I really love like little one-use resource things in armies. They really make it quite fun to play. I really like playing Caradron Overlords when you do that sort of thing, and Lumineth. I feel those little mechanics really make it fun with these little one-use abilities to really pump you up and give you that extra bit in particular phases. That's a really good thing for Misthavn. But as mentioned, it just lacks that sort of ability to spread and take more things from the book without losing itself. Plus the lack of spell lore, I think, really just drops it down here for me. Number 6 for me is Settler's Gain. Once again, this struggles from the fact it's only buffing particular units. So it's wanting you to buff Collegiate Arcane Wizards, and it's giving you the benefits for taking them over anything else. It's also making a lot of abilities work on Free Guild stuff and Collegiate Arcane rather than the whole breadth of the book. However, I do feel this army gives you a cool, unique thing in how it takes a Lumineth and sort of makes them these overlords within the army. I really wish there was maybe some potential to take Lumineth heroes and have abilities come from Lumineth heroes more, and some of the stuff there. But we have got a good spell lore, we've got a good set of artifacts and command traits with Settler's Gain. The only issue with artifacts, once again, is they're only for Collegiate Arcane, which is a bit of a downside. But you've got cool bonuses as well. Not to mention, bringing on Lumineth Realm Lords and giving them access to empowered endless spells is certainly something cool. I think Techless with the empowered endless spells is certainly something to be feared. Whether or not you can get the protection on him is to be seen. I mean, Settler's Gain is very new, and this could be the one where I'm maybe placing it a bit lower than maybe. However, a reason for my spell ones going so low is because obviously we're in this heavily magic dominated meta, and even with Techless in this, other wizards aren't going to get a lot off against some of these stronger magic armies, though Techless certainly will help you get some magic potential in this one. Number 5, Hallowheart. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial to some people. However, I feel in the current meta, Hallowheart has certainly dropped down the pecking order for me. Now, the major issue for this is it doesn't have access to auto casts. While it can cast at ridiculously high casting values like 16s, 17s, and even 21s and 22s at times, yes, those are actual numbers you can roll on dice. It's a thing. However, for me, Hallowheart really suffers from the fact you have auto disbinds and auto unbinds and all that sort of stuff available to everyone in the game, and just this amount of dispels and bonus dispels across the game as well. It really does mean that Hallowheart's essential spells aren't going to go off. Hallowheart really relied on using endless spells a lot when it initially came out, especially the Soulscream Bridge and Umbral Spell Portals to get particular combos out of the army. If I was playing against a Hallowheart army now and I had a Spell Dom on the table, or even just playing Stormcaster or an Order army with a Knight Incanter in there, I literally every turn would just be waiting for my opponent to go, I'm going to cast Soulscream Bridge, and going Auto Dispel. It would stop so much of the power of Hallowheart not getting that Soulscream Bridge off, and not being able to get that shooting potential into range. It would really, really hurt the army a lot. So for me, this is why Hallowheart's so low. Maybe when the game changes, we can revisit this whole video and Hallowheart may be a little bit higher, but for now, for me, it's smack bang in the middle. Coming in at number 4 and just missing out on our top 3 cities, I have Hammerhal. Now, Hammerhal does what a lot of the other cities I've previously mentioned don't do. It has these really cool abilities that only work in particular ways, but allows all units to achieve them. So Hammerhal actually has this really cool ability where if you're on your own table, called your own territory, you get immune to battle shock. If your opponent's territory, you get to potentially attack twice with a command ability, which is really cool. The great thing about this is it allows all Hammerhal units to do it, and I feel that is its biggest bonus. There's also really good ways in which you can do this, and the battalion for Hammerhal is probably one of the best battalions in the book, in that it actually helps you play the army how you want to, because you want to get across to your opponent's table, but you can also defend on the first turn by sitting and holding the line. I feel Hammerhal is a decent city. It's really got some good potential. Things like the Celston Prime come really good in Hammerhal. Seriously, he is amazing in this city, but it just misses out on my top 3. Number 3, now this may be a little bit of personal bias, mainly because this is the city I use the most, but I've got Anvilgard. For me, this is a great city. I feel it's got plenty of potential. I think the battalion is fantastic. It really builds toward the theme of the army, and not only that, makes all the units good, and gives you some bonuses against the things that maybe Anvilgard would otherwise struggle against. I think there's really some good play in a bunch of the command abilities. Spell lore from Anvilgard is absolutely fantastic, and also the artifacts as well are decent. I think there's definitely some play in it, bringing up maybe some terrible war scrolls like the Hydra and the Charybdis, and making them somewhat playable. A Charybdis with Felgaze is no joke. Monastery Bravery auras are pretty cool. On top of that, you've also got the ability to give like Jutting Bones or Acidic Blood to a dragon, and other things like that as well. It's also very command point friendly. You can build lists with this where there is a ton of command points available to you, allowing you to use command points where and when you want. I do think Anvilgard is often overlooked as one of the decent cities to play in Cities of Sigmar, and I really do feel it has a lot of potential on the table if more people gave it a shot. I've played Scourge Privateers for a long time now, and there's not much I haven't beaten with my Anvilgard on the table. Number 2, I've got the Living City. Now, I feel the Living City is actually quite good in the current meta. A big reason of that is able to keep heavy hitters off the table, but enable them to actually get to where you want to. I think there's a ton of play in Living City and how you can keep units off that have shooting attacks but also decent in combat. Things like Durthu, Dracothian Guard, or even using the battalion as well and giving units those massive charge bonuses. Chronomatic Cogs goes really well into Living City, and the fact you can get it off pretty easy with some decent casters in your backfield and allow your units to charge and really get a ton of bonuses from Deep Strike. I also think the ability to strike and fade away your shooting units to then move away is also a decent option, enabling them to get either behind cover, in cover, or do some other things. And you've also got some other cool things you can do as well, like once again, like Hammerhal, this allows you to not only do it to normal units, like say Misthavn restricts it to Dark Elves. This doesn't restrict you to Wanderers, which is sort of the theme of the city. This allows you to take other things like bring a Hurricane or bring a Luminarch down your opponent's flank and shoot a laser beam down their lines and stuff like that. It allows you to play around with the book a lot more, and I feel that gives Living City the edge over a ton. Plus, in the current meta, with your opponents having lots of shooting of their own, you being able to deploy your shooting where you want it and when you need it is really important. And number 1 for me, Tempest. I do feel that this is currently the best Cities of Sigmar out there. Now, I will say the thing with Cities of Sigmar, and what's really cool is it constantly changes which one is the best. At one point, I would have had Hallowheart up here, especially when the book first dropped. But nowadays, I think it's Tempest. I think the +1 save on your first turn, added with the additional movement, allowing you to get your slower units into position, enabling you to do some charges early game as well, with units that might otherwise not be able to. Also, getting units on the objective quick as well is really good. The battalion in this city is also really good. I do feel the Anvilgard Windrunner city with the Pistoliers and stuff like that is a really decent battalion. And the ability to add Caradron Overlords in is just fantastic. I mean, Caradron are already one of the best things in the game, and if you can take 8 units and get, a frigate and a unit of Thunderers or something like that, or even a couple of gun haulers into your list, Caradron definitely do give a lot to this city. But it's things like the Iron Drakes and the Pistoliers and all the shooting units that really carry the city. Shooting is really strong at the moment, and for me, Tempest does shooting really well, so therefore it's going to be better. Not only that, but Tempest can also buff your combat units. Aura to Glory is a fantastic ability. You can stack that with my beloved Scourge Privateers to give them +2 attacks each, and all of a sudden they're rocking out with 4 attacks a model in a really cheap bubble. It can be pretty decent. I think there's loads of ways you can play Tempest. It does really well at the moment. It is, for me, at current, the best City of Sigmar. So what are your thoughts? What do you think is the best and worst cities? How would you rank them yourselves? I know there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on this, and this, of course, is my own personal list. I can't iterate that enough. Anvilgard, for me, is probably a lot higher than it would be for a lot of other people, but do go give it a shot. But I'd be really interested to know what cities you have a lot of luck with, what you've been playing, what you've been doing with your cities. Come discuss them, jump in our Discord, which is linked in the description of the video, and come chat and talk cities with us. We've got a ton of cities players there, especially a lot of Anvilgard and Har Kuron and Misthavn players there as well. But love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments. Let us know. Come jump on Discord and join us and chat there and tell us all about it. Let us know as well just everything about cities that you would like to share, and what cities would you like to see in the future. Well, thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Cities of Sigmar, you can do so by coming and joining our Discord server, which you'll find a link to in the description of the video. While you're on YouTube as well, go check out my featured channel section, which contains a bunch of other fantastic Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, tactical videos, lore videos, painting tutorials, and more besides that. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to James, AJC, JC, Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Cowspawn, James Crowder, and Andrew Bowen. Thank you all so much for your support. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by clicking once again on the links down in the description of the video to either YouTube members or Patreon. Thank you all for supporting the channel though, watching the content. Have a nice day, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.